Anton Drexler, the 13th of June 1884 to 24, February 1942, was a German far-right political figure whose life, though often overshadowed by his protege Adolf Hitler, played a pivotal role in shaping one of the most infamous movements in history. As the founder of the German Workers' Party, which later became the National Socialist, German Workers' Party Drexler's story is one of ambition, ideology, and eventual obscurity. Below is a detailed, engaging narrative of his life, including his political battles, personal struggles, and the historical context that made his story significant. Since you asked about wars he fought, note that Drexler did not personally fight in any military conflicts due to being deemed physically unfit, but his political activities were deeply tied to the aftermath of World War I and the ideological battles of his time. Early life. A humble beginning in Munich. Anton Drexler was born on June 13, 1884, in Munich, Bavaria, into a working-class family. His father was a railroad worker, and Drexler followed a similarly practical path, training as a machine fitter before becoming a railway toolmaker and locksmith. In 1902, seeking better opportunities, he moved to Berlin, hoping the bustling capital would secure him a prosperous future. However, life in Berlin was far from glamorous. Struggling to make ends meet, Drexler resorted to playing the zither in restaurants to supplement his income. A humiliating experience for a man with dreams of stability and respect. This period of financial hardship and social frustration planted the seeds of resentment that would later fuel his political ideology. Drexler was described as bespectacled and unassuming, a quiet man with a deep sense of national pride but little personal charisma. His experiences as a struggling worker in a rapidly changing Germany shaped his belief that the working class deserved a political voice, one that was fiercely nationalist and free from the influences of Marxism and capitalism, which he saw as threats to German identity. Anton Drexler's political awakening during World War I, 1914 to 1918, is a critical chapter in his life, marking the transformation of a modest railway worker into a key figure in the origins of the Nazi Party. While Drexler did not fight in the war due to being deemed physically unfit, the conflict profoundly shaped his worldview, fueling his nationalism, anti-Semitism, and resentment toward Germany's political and social systems. Below is a detailed, engaging narrative of this period, focusing on how World War I catalyzed Drexler's political activism, the specific events and influences that shaped his ideology, and the broader context of Germany's turmoil. The story is crafted to captivate readers as requested, plunging Germany into a grueling conflict against the Allied powers. For Germans like Anton Drexler, then a 30-year-old toolmaker and locksmith in Munich, the war initially sparked a wave of patriotic fervor. The German Empire, under Kaiser Wilhelm II, mobilized millions, and national unity seemed strong. However, as the war dragged on, it brought devastating losses, economic hardship, and social unrest. By 1917, Germany faced food shortages, labor strikes, and growing disillusionment, particularly among the working class. The Russian Revolution of 1917 also raised fears of communist uprisings in Germany, while the entry of the United States into the war tipped the scales against the Central Powers. Drexler, born into a working-class family in Munich in 1884, was deeply patriotic but frustrated by his inability to serve in the military. Declared physically unfit likely due to health issues or his slight build, he was confined to the home front. Working in the railway industry, a vital cog in Germany's war effort, this rejection stung as it denied him the chance to prove his loyalty to the fatherland on the battlefield. Instead, Drexler turned to political activism, seeking to channel his patriotism into a cause that would restore Germany's greatness and address the grievances of workers like himself. German Fatherland Party, 1917. By 1917, the war's toll was undeniable. Germany's economy was crumbling under the Allied blockade, and morale was sinking. Drexler, like many Germans, began to blame internal forces for the nation's struggles. That year, at age 33, he joined the German Fatherland Party, Vaterlandsparte, a far-right nationalist organization founded by Wolfgang Kapp and Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz. The party was a coalition of industrialists, military figures, and conservatives who supported continuing the war and rejected calls for a negotiated peace. It also promoted the stab-in-the-back myth Dalch der Legend, which claimed Germany's impending defeat was due to betrayal by socialists, communists, and Jews on the home front rather than military failure. The Fatherland Party was Drexler's first foray into organized politics, and it was a formative experience. The party's anti-Semitic and anti-Marxist rhetoric resonated with him, as he saw these groups as threats to German unity and the working class he identified with. His time in the party exposed him to Völkisch Folkisch nationalism, a movement that idealized a racially pure German identity tied to blood and soil. These ideas, combined with his frustration over Germany's weakening position, began to crystallize his political beliefs. He started to see the war not just as a military struggle, but as a battle for Germany's soul, pitting true Germans against perceived enemies within. Free Workers' Committee 1918. As the war neared its end in 1918, Germany's situation grew dire. The spring offensive failed, and the home front was gripped by hunger and unrest. Drexler, now 34, felt compelled to act. In March 1918, he founded a branch of the Free Workers' Committee for a Good Peace Freier Arbeiteroches e.V.Innen, Gutenfrieden, in Munich, one that would reject the punitive terms being imposed by the Allies and preserve Germany's pride. Drexler believed the working class was being exploited by both capitalist elites and Marxist agitators, and he sought to create a movement that combined socialism with fierce nationalism. The Free Workers' Committee was small and lacked influence, but it marked Drexler's emergence as a political organizer. He began holding meetings in Munich's beer halls, where workers gathered to discuss the war, the economy, and Germany's future. Drexler's speeches, though often rambling and uninspiring, reflected his growing conviction that Germany's salvation lay in uniting workers under a nationalist banner. He railed against the Treaty of Versailles, still in negotiation, in 1918. Which he saw as a humiliation, and against the rise of communism, which he feared would destroy German culture. His anti-Semitism, already influenced by the Fatherland Party, deepened as he embraced conspiracy theories about Jewish financiers profiting from the war. The Political Workers' Circle, and the seeds of the DAP later. In 1918, Drexler's activism took a more structured form when he joined forces with Karl Heroux, a journalist and member of the Thule Society, a secretive Völkisch group obsessed with Nordic mythology and anti-Semitism. Together, they formed the Political Workers' Circle Politischer Arbeitszirkel, a small discussion group that met regularly in Munich to debate nationalist and anti-Semitic ideas. The circle was exclusive, with only a handful of members, and focused on intellectual debates rather than mass mobilization. It was here that Drexler began to articulate his vision of a political party that could unite workers against Marxism, capitalism, and Dietrich Eckart founded on January 5, 1919, just months after Germany's surrender in November 1918. The war's end was a devastating blow for Drexler. The Kaiser abdicated, the Weimar Republic was established, and the Treaty of Versailles imposed crushing reparations and territorial losses. For Drexler, these events confirmed his belief in the stab-in-the-back myth and fueled his determination to fight for a nationalist revival. The DAP was his answer party that would champion the German working class while rejecting the forces he blamed for Germany's defeat. The human side. Drexler's struggles and motivations. What makes Drexler's story during this period compelling is his humanity, a mix of ambition, frustration, and misguided idealism. He was not a charismatic leader like Hitler, nor a wealthy ideologue like some of his contemporaries. He was a bespectacled, unassuming worker who felt humiliated by Germany's defeat and his own marginal status. His zither-playing days in Berlin, where he performed for meager tips, haunted him, reinforcing his desire to give workers like himself dignity and purpose. His speeches, though lackluster, were earnest attempts to rally others to his cause. Yet his embrace of toxic ideologies like anti-Semitism and ultranationalism led him down a path that would have catastrophic consequences. This narrative dives deep into Drexler's political awakening during World War I, capturing the drama of the era and his personal journey in an engaging way. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more military, navy, and geopolitical updates.